Donald Trump is holding, as we speak, a town hall with Tulsi Gabbard in Wisconsin. And already there are a bunch of clips I want to play for you from it. And a lot of it's just the same exhausting stuff. But some of it's interesting because he has this little group behind him. And you can see their reaction. I want you to watch as he says here his bizarre stat on how many jobs are being taken by migrants, but it can't be real because it's mathematically impossible, the stat that he cites over and over. And the people behind him are trying to listen, but even they seem, even though they're clearly hardcore supporters, uncomfortable with what he's saying.
Because the jobs that are, the people that are coming in are just taken, and it's going to start with the black population. African Americans are losing their jobs. And I don't know if you heard the latest statistic that of the jobs that these people created, which is very little, every single job was taken, about 107%, was taken by illegal immigrants. There's been no job creation from them.
So the lady he's talking to, because she asked a question, no reaction other than just sort of, okay. I saw this guy over here slightly nod. Well, what are you nodding to? What? 107% of job growth has been growth in jobs among migrants. There have been more jobs created that have been given to migrants than the jobs created. That's not how numbers work. I'm not the best at numbers, but that's not how it works, surely. And obviously there, him again doubling down on this black jobs sort of talking point. That was the original term. Now he says they're coming for the jobs in the black population. And that's not landing, we've learned, with black Americans in the way that he thinks it is. At the very beginning, just to kind of go back to the beginning chronologically, he did indicate he had no clue he was going to be doing this.
I finished and I figured I was going to come here and we were going to make a speech. I had a speech all set for you. I was ready. They said, sir, you're actually doing a town hall. I said, oh, nobody told me that. I said, who's doing it? They said, Tulsi. I said, well, that's at least good news. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, I have to tell you. So I didn't even know. I'm in the plane, and I'm looking over some material, and we're going to give you a hell of a speech tonight. We were set to give you one hell of a speech. They said, no, sir, it's a town hall. I said, why doesn't somebody tell me this stuff? And I don't even have any idea who we're doing it for. I don't know. Is it for a network or what? I see a lot of television.
By the way, I'm not making this point because I understand as a presidential candidate, a lot's going on. You don't know what's all being scheduled. We've been hearing about how it's going to be a town hall, not a speech for some time. But I want you more to think about with that one. What would they say if Biden went on that little tangent? If Biden went, folks, I don't even know what we're doing tonight. Who's out there, folks? They would say he didn't even know what type of event he was going to. Blah! Right? But with Trump, it's not going to be a problem. And I don't think it's a problem. It's a little strange that he didn't know, but it's fine. He's not as busy as Kamala Harris, so he should be able to remember which events he's holding. But nevertheless, here's the next moment.
But
that's right. He's real.
But she was sitting behind that desk, this massive desk, and she didn't look like a leader to me, I'll be honest. I don't see her negotiating with President Xi of China. I don't see her with Kim Jong-un like we did with Kim Jong-un.
This is something they've been saying a lot. Do you really want the guy who seems so enamored by those individuals that he couldn't possibly negotiate, deal with, have presidential engagements with any of these authoritarian leaders in a way that is not advantageous to them because of how much he wants to praise them and wants to be like them, wants to learn from them? His language indicates this. It's not even a stretch. He talks about how brilliant and great gentlemen and how much power they have, and they're able to wield it. They rule with an iron fist. He's, what did I call it? Like an authoritarian crush he has on them, which then clouds his judgment. I'd rather have the person who doesn't have that, can still deal with in peaceful ways our adversaries. That's important, sure, but isn't falling over herself to kiss up to them, as Trump does. Then he's been saying this too recently.
So now she doesn't talk about it. Do you notice she doesn't talk about climate change anymore? She's not talking about it. You know why? Because people don't want to hear it. They want to live a good life. They want to live a life. They don't want to stop your industry with climate change. They used to call it different things, global warming. Remember, that wasn't working because it was getting a little bit cooler. So they said, what are we going to do? We'll call it global cooling. No. So they came up with the words climate change because that takes. So
this is like a random person who knows nothing about politics or what he's talking about. Just sort of like, for example, because I do this, and so people in my life will know it. Sometimes people come up who have no background in political subjects, who haven't really ever thought that much, but then because they're trying to, in a very kind way, bring up topics that I'm interested in, they'll start just spitballing on things and throwing out. You would not think he's a presidential candidate the way he talks about these things. And then for him to say that she has stopped talking about climate change, you know what? I think he might be right. Kamala Harris never talks about climate change recently. Not in her interview that's happening right now.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here, in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value...
So she's being asked, and I honestly think it's sort of the perfect answer there. She has shifted on some policies, it appears, in her presidential run compared to her previous presidential run. It happens. But her answer is, hey, that is only to further serve the same values I've always had, right? I'm just trying to make sure we come up with the most pragmatic, realistic solution to the problems that my values, which were the same back when I had different specifics in how we could address these problems, say we need to address. Great. It's not indicative of a value change, which is more concerning, but instead a rethinking of the exact approach, but charging forward on the same issues motivated by a particular value. And that is a topic tonight where she's being shown to identify the climate crisis or climate change as a very serious issue. But he says she never wants to talk about it. My colleague Jaden just told me, and you can look at this on screen, we're going to put on screen. 5 million views last week came from people who aren't subscribed. If that's one of you, click that subscribe button, baby. It's easy, it's free, but it makes all the difference. Back to the video. Then it gets weirder and weirder. I use that term for a reason.
You get a lot of those questions because Minnesota, I mean, they picked this guy. He is weird. Right? He's weird. I'm not weird. He's weird.
I'm not weird. He's weird. I don't know if that's the most compelling pushback to the allegation that some of the obsessions of MAGA, often in targeting people and wanting to micromanage their lives. It's weird. You're freaking us out, guys. A response to that being, no, you are, is not exactly what I think is most effective. Then whatever the heck this is.
You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem.
And we've addressed that before. Not understanding you can store, oh gosh, you could store the electricity that was generated by wind when it was blowing. And that's not the end all be all, and it shouldn't be. But no one can quite get their head around Trump's bizarre, obsessive opposition to wind energy. That's just one in what should be a combination of renewable energy solutions to climate change. One of them being, yes, nuclear. I know there's some debate in the leftward realm about that, but we should definitely be putting that to the forefront of this conversation. But to enter into such a conversation, seemingly so confused about it that you don't understand you can store energy after it's generated, maybe it's time for the adults to discuss, Donnie, and you can go play more golf. Then he gets asked about, and I should say, I meant to bring this up earlier, sorry. The big thing in this at the beginning was him announcing that his administration, if he were elected again, would pay for and mandate insurance companies to pay for IVF treatments for families. That's actually a good policy. He's only bringing that up because he's desperate to win back over people, and people understand the damage more broadly to reproductive rights that he's responsible for. So he's trying to win them back by making a promise you know he's not going to keep. But it should hopefully motivate Democrats to say, well, we'll actually get that done if we have power, because I do like that idea. It does promote families. It does support what often is such a tough, extensive process where you're trying to start a family. The government supporting that, I would be on board with. But just like some of the tax-related proposals he's been making, it's so transparently a political thing. And like him saying in his 2016 campaign, the government's going to pay for everyone to have health care. He said that. You forgot. He said it. It's another one of those promises he would never keep. But he gets asked here, I should say, about bringing grocery prices down, and see if you can decipher his message.
The question I get most, you know, they say you're going to vote with your stomach. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's a little bit true. And groceries, food has gone up at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We've never seen anything like it, 50, 60, 70%. You take a look at bacon and some of these products, and some people don't eat bacon anymore. And we are going to get the energy prices down. When we get energy down, you know, this was caused by their horrible energy wind. They want wind all over the place. But when it doesn't blow, we have a little problem. This was caused by energy. This was really caused by energy, and also their unbelievable spending. They're spending us out of wealth, actually. They're taking our wealth away. But it was caused by energy. And what they've done is they started cutting way back. We were in third place. When I left, we were...
All right, and some crossover there, but think about that. So much of the Trump campaign message is premised on the idea that he could bring down prices in an economically feasible way, that he understands this. That's when they say we want Trump to focus on policy, not the personal attack. That's the policy stuff they think is effective, and it is more because people are obviously concerned about that issue. But his solution is wind is bad, and let's generate more energy. But he'll always reference that the attack on oil production is why prices went up. But right now, we're producing record energy production across the board, and then specifically oil production too in the United States. So if that's the thing you feel like you have power over and you would facilitate, but we're already doing it to record-breaking highs, maybe the story is more complicated than that. We just talked about on the bonus show, you can get access to that by clicking the join button below, the admission from major grocery chains that they were jacking up prices beyond what inflation was calling for, beyond what they had to even continue the profits they had before. They jacked even beyond that. And when Kamala Harris calls out corporate price gouging, that's a more real point connected to potentially real solutions, as opposed to Trump just sort of saying energy, but we're doing that. So what else or what differently, what specifically? He doesn't really have it. And then he says also because of the crazy Biden spending we recently reviewed, even if you cut out you could do it both ways. You can compare the spending, especially deficit spending that was adding to the debt under Trump versus Biden. If you cut out COVID, Trump is still doubling Biden. If you cut out non-COVID and just look at COVID relief, then still Trump's way outpacing Biden on that. Combined, obviously, way outpacing, doubling in his adding to the debt. And so looking at COVID relief specifically, if you're saying Biden dumped too much in COVID relief or in other stuff, then you would have to blame yourself even more, because as you were leaving office, you were contributing to that. But it probably was necessary, just to be clear, in that crisis. We saw it as a global phenomenon. The way you got out of it was recovery spending, and sometimes that can contribute with supply chain problems, with the invasion of Ukraine, with corporate price gouging, to a broader inflation that is hard to get down. But in the United States, we got down lower much more quickly than other countries. I'll leave it there. I'm sure there's going to be more coming from this, but we can't take it. So let me know what you thought of that in the comments. And you can get the bonus show that I mentioned by clicking the join button below.